All right, so hi everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day for joining us for this session of Firewise 101 and office hours. I see some familiar names. So just to introduce myself, I'm Jennifer Valadez. I'm the project manager for Fire Safe Council for Monterey County. So today's session will focus on the California 3-year action plan portion of the Firewise USA application. So we'll spend about 30 minutes on the main content and then leave the second half open for questions, discussions, and any events you have coming up too, you can plug. So today I wanted to start with a few quick housekeeping before we dive in. So as I mentioned before, the session is being recorded and will be available on YouTube if you want to revisit. And we'll hold Firewise office hours at the end for Q&A. And our website is firesafemonterey.org. Check it out for resources and upcoming events. But here I also have the upcoming community events for the end of September and some in October. So we have our board meeting every last Thursday. So this month it falls on the 25th. You can join on Zoom or join in person at the Cal Fire Dispatch. And also, for the next Firewise 101, I'm thinking of doing a portal walkthrough and then preparing for renewals. So if there are any Firewise community leaders or residents who help out on that, please make sure to join the next session or watch it on YouTube the day after to see what you need to prepare for those renewals. And if you're in the Aromas Tri-County area, they have their open house on the 11th in October, as well as the Good Fire Fair. I believe it's all for the Central Coast, so it's held at the Henry Cowell Redwood State Park. And also we have a fairly smaller group this time, so if you have any questions, you can either drop them in the chat or put yourself off mute. And feel free to ask any questions as we go along. And if you want to turn off your camera, if you would not like to be recorded, please do so now. I can always edit out too. And the post-meeting survey after the session is over is completely optional, but really appreciated. And for office hours, remember to be mindful of everyone's time. And if you have any more specific questions, please feel free to contact me or Richard Bates, who is the Firewise Regional Coordinator for Monterey County. And if you would like to use the raising your hand feature, you can do so or use the chat. So I also wanted to go over the community roles further along as we go, and also in the action plans. Some questions come up on who's responsible for what. So really the residents lead Firewise wildfire resiliency efforts, and those actions that we're describing and the goals that are outlined in the action plan, Fire Safe Council can help, let's say, present at a community event, but it's the lift on Firewise community members to organize that event for us to participate in. So same thing for fire authorities. They're there to build partnerships and provide wildfire expertise. So building those connections is strong in Firewise. And also supporting Firewise communities. Firewise has been identified as part of the California Wildfire Preparedness Strategy, hence why California is, I think, the only state that has this 3-year action plan requirement. So we'll go over some of that today. So if you're kind of following along with the series, you should be here to complete your 3-year California action plan, and then we'll follow through on some of the template. So for our agenda, I always like to start with the pre-meeting survey to see where everyone's at. And then we'll dive into what it'll look like starting the action plan template, troubleshooting it, and then reasons for rejections. And then we'll close off with some office hours. So we'll launch the survey now, and then it should show up on your screen. Let's see. There are just 4 questions. Again, this is completely optional and no need to submit if you don't want to. It seems like a lot of us are actively working on Firewise recognition. A few who are neighborhood leaders, homeowner, resident. Um, yeah, many of us here to complete an action plan. That one, or I would say the action plan has been the document that has raised the most questions. So I hope this could help answer any of those. And I've gotten in the last week some more information on if you get any kickback, how to fix it. Since I think they're using, since March, they've been using a new template. So we'll go over that and see how it looks like. Also, and just I'm just curious. I recognize a lot of people, a lot of names in the meeting today, but if everyone could put their name and what Firewise community or where in Monterey they are, that'd be helpful too to see where everyone is coming from and kind of what fire protection districts, or if you're just in the CAL FIRE area, it'd be helpful as well. So I wanted to go over some Firewise reminders since the action plan will be sort of your last step before submission. And something that Richard says, who is the Firewise regional coordinator, is that community members taking on this application process is that the application is straightforward, but it is not easy. So here are some reminders to keep in mind while completing your first Firewise recognition, or if you're using the new action plan template, there might be some issues that arise from that. So keep in mind that you will need to update your action plan every 3 years and the risk assessment every 5 years. So setting goals that your community is able to build off of is really key. And your group is able to start the online application whenever you want, and you're able to save it and close it until your committee is ready to submit. We just got a notice from the NFPA program manager, I believe her name's Megan, that once an update is made on the portal and the status application is changed to submitted, then no further changes can be made. But if the application needs to be changed, it would have to be labeled as unsubmitted to make any changes and then resubmitted. So I think that there was some issues in the past month or so with that status of submission of being submitted. So I think her team has just come back from, I think, some training, and they might be able to assist if to change that submitted to unsubmitted to then make those changes if you receive a rejection and comments on the rejection. And on that, receiving a rejection isn't necessarily a bad thing, and please don't get discouraged. The series here is to help, and there are really just pointers on how to improve your application or how to kind of streamlining it, because California now has over 1,000 Firewise communities. CAL FIRE is really going through all of these very quickly. So I think just having those pointers makes them go through it in an easier fashion. So let's get into why does California have a 3-year action plan? So it's to identify and prioritize actions to reduce wildfire risk to homes that are ideally achievable over a 3-year period. And it's basically building off of the recommendations made in the risk assessment. So it's suggested to do your action plan after the risk assessment, so you have appropriate goals set after seeing what the hazards are in your community. So here is the first page of the action plan template, and I will link it here. And I believe they have changed it from being a Word document to being a PDF, since many people had Macs, which I'm using right now. So the PDF makes it easier to use So you'll fill it out here and save it. But there had been issues on changing these dates. So if you were to fill out your application, say in the next month, you would still use 2026 to 2028 and then fill out this date completed. And here we'll go over these 4 sections that they ask you to make goals off of. But it's pretty straightforward. It has these boxes to make each goal and type it in. And I also linked it in the chat if you like to have a copy for yourself as well. And they had been requesting to have each year changed, but here they don't have it to be changed. So I've used the tool of PDF Gear to kind of amend any PDFs that would require changes for a box that isn't fillable, like these are. So you are required to use the provided template. And in the last regional coordinator session yesterday, the CAL FIRE guys said that you could convert it to a Word document, or you could kind of fill out in a separate Word document, and whenever you're ready, copy and paste, and this document should receive it pretty well for each section. Because it might be easier to work on it separately, because I don't think this automatically saves unless you download it completely again. So that's a point to keep in mind. And generally, the information that will be included is on education and outreach, home hardening, defensible space, fuels reduction, evacuation planning, and general wildfire preparedness. So some tips for filling it out and some points that have, received some kickback. So if you fill out your application in 2025, your action plan will be for the years of 2026 onto 2028. Also, they make sure to label your action plan years. So year 1 would be the following year in which you are filling it out. So 2026, year 2, 2027, year 3, 2028. And also, the map should be attached on page 11, or it could be, I know that's for the risk assessment. I don't know why that's there, but yeah, ignore that part. But each year we'll build off the goals stated in the previous year. And again, ensuring that the number of dwellings and all kind of community data is the same throughout the entire application, because that's something that when they quickly look at these applications that get submitted, that they're checking off and going through the list of what should be the same throughout. And really this 3-year plan is for upgrading, retrofitting, and any fuels removal projects in your community. So let's say that your community wanted to rent a chipper or wanted to do a work day, then this is where you would describe that. So let's first start in the category of education and outreach. So I wanted to outline some examples for each section that you might consider outlining for your goals. So you could connect with us for Fire Safe Council and attend monthly meetings, hosting an annual outreach event. I think September is National Preparedness Month, so September is always a good time to host those events. Or also there's wildfire preparedness as well, Wildfire Preparedness Day, which is in May, which is another time that would be good to host an annual event. Also developing an email and mailing list for the community. This might seem very small task, but developing a newsletter would be from that. I see a question. Possible to share with us approved risk assessment and action plans from local community who did a good job filling out the forms. So yes, I do have a sample one later on after this, and we can go through some of the approved goals that were outlined. And this also is from NFPA, they have a couple, I think like a toolkit on what would be appropriate, but this is something specific to Monterey County, that such as including us or including your local fire protection district to meetings as well. Providing links to information about fire preparedness. Fire Safe Council has some handouts that you could hand out to neighbors, things like that. So some home hardening, this might be specific to some communities. So this would be, say, in your risk assessment, if more homes already have a Class A roof, then maybe consider adding a goal of encouraging replacement of bark or wood mulch within the 5 feet of the home, so in that zone 0, or encouraging homeowners to consider replacing windows. That's kind of like a larger project, but it's something that could also be done. And this is where zone 0 could be part of home hardening, since within that 5 feet. So maintaining clear gutters and litter-free roofs. You can add a goal of doing a work day to clean out gutters and litter-free of the roofs, removing debris and combustible material from under decks, and then reminding residents to store firewood away from structures. So defensible space and fuel reduction, here are some more examples. And this is where you could elaborate on a potential chipping program or creation of zone 0 for a certain amount of homes. So trimming large trees and removing ladder fuels, identifying and removing risks in zone 0, conducting defensible space assessments, creating vertical clearance over roadways, or replacing flammable brush with fire-resistant native plants is also another one that could be possible. There's also a section on evacuation planning, and I would like to suggest that you look through the Rancho Armitas Firewise Community One Road Out campaign. At our recent Monterey Bay Firewise Partners Forum, we had Barry Ferra from Rancho Armitas present on how they are developing neighbor-to-neighbor agreements for evacuations. So seeing that structure and how they're doing that might be helpful in adding one step, because I know they have multiple steps in their process of getting folks into agreements. And we have that on our YouTube channel now. So if you like to see it, Barry's section starts around the 35-minute mark, just so you can just jump to that. Also, you could discuss ingress and egress with community members, discussion of go bags and family evacuation or communication plans, reviewing what evacuation warnings mean and what zone you are in as well, or encouraging neighbors to sign up for Alert Monterey. The Department of Emergency Management also was at our forum, and they always have good handouts for that. And I believe Andrea Strada, who presented, would be able to either connect with me to help get those handouts to you, or she could help out directly. She's been at other like fire protection districts events to hand those out, or planning a work day to clear evacuation routes of vegetation if there is already a known evacuation route in your community. Also ensuring home address numbers are visible for first responders. Also, I'd like to point out that the North County Firewise Community Group had put in a grant application to do signs. So those those green reflective signs. So when an emergency vehicle, either ambulance or fire truck, come through the communities, they're able to identify your home. So that's also part of evacuation planning. Or as well as inviting local law enforcement to present on evacuation procedures, since local law enforcement are the ones who call when an evacuation should be done. Not really the fire department's point on that, but the law enforcement. And here I wanted to describe some reasons for rejections regarding the action plan. So communities must use the NFPA approved template and virtually fill out the template and upload it as a single document. If the template is not used, then the application will be sent back to you. As well, I really want to hammer in the point of having consistent number of dwellings and residents. And within the risk assessment, action plan, and community profile, and headers must include the name of your community, years the plan covers, and the first year of your action plan will be the year after you apply. So for example, if you're applying for the tail end of this year of 2025, then the years on your action plan should be 2026 through 2028. And then updating the year header in each section. This should match the years in the header section. So year 1 would be the next calendar year. So also listing 3 to 5 goals per year per category. And then making sure that the goals build on each other each year and do not simply repeat. So let's say for education and outreach for year 1, you would like to build a community email list. And then year 2, you would build a newsletter to send, a virtual newsletter to send to those people on your mailing list. And then year 3 would be like doing a printed newsletter or doing a community event with those people in the mailing list. So this is a copy of a 3-year action plan from Malibu, really random, but this is the one Richard Bates shared with me. So here is using it. And again, this is a Word document, but there are some, because there were some issues on Mac. Yeah, again, like mailing postcards in X month and announcing to the Firewise community. And then hosting a September Firewise event. So this will all be linked. I can share this as well. Should be in the chat now. And also creating a plan based on the assessment. So kind of having that assessment on hand when you develop these goals, and including rough deadlines just to demonstrate that your community has a schedule that you're planning to stick to throughout those 3 years. That's why in this application, they've outlined June or September for participation in a specific event that is marked throughout the year. And your plan, oh, okay, that's a good point. Let me see here. Yeah, this should be updated. So all that actually editing would be easier. Thanks for pointing that out. Let's see if this works now. There you go. Please let me know if you can access that. If not, can find another example or make a copy of this and have it. All right, awesome. Good to know. So it's really encouraged to do a 1 day per year, like an annual event, either labeling it like, let's say just Firewise Day, and it could be practicing evacuation routes or a chipper day or a work day to trim up / limb up trees, and they should all be documented. So number of volunteers, and if you can, or if you're doing a chipper day, how many tons or cubic meters are removed of vegetation. So I want to open up the floor for any general questions, or if you think of a question later, feel free to contact me. There's my email, or the Firewise Regional Coordinator, Richard Bates, through firewise.ffcmc@gmail.com. And also, we have a general email for any general questions that some of our board members have access to and can respond to you if they have a more clear answer on any of those points. So feel free to either ask any questions in the chat or go off mute. Or if you would like for me to go back to any specific slides, again, I like to publish these, but if it's easier just to grab that information now, I understand too.
Jennifer, I have a question. This is Joanne. Can you reconfirm for me that September is the preparedness month? For some reason, we were told October.
Oh, yeah. Through FEMA is just general preparedness, just
Okay.
national prepare yeah, on Instagram we've done some posts with Wanda from Peace of Mind Preparedness and
Right.
just putting out tips. So if that's something you all would like to do, we can give you those templates for what we did.
Okay, because we're planning an event for October, but I'm sure it won't be
Yeah,
disqualified.
there's plenty of events in October too.
Okay.
And also going on that, in October, we're planning to do renewal workshops, and that might also apply to any portal questions, folks who are applying for the first time, since it's generally the same kind of application, sort of. So if there's interest in that, please let me know in the post survey that goes out once you either leave or we end the session.
I also have one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
I have someone who's very enthusiastic and accidentally submitted with just the risk
Mm-hmm.
assessment. Will
Mm-hmm.
he get something back to him that says it's incomplete and then he'll be able to resubmit? He doesn't have to go
Mm-hmm.
through any kind of process to be able to resubmit.
Yeah, so it'd have to be rejected first, and then he can
Okay.
go into resubmit. But if it still says submitted, then I would reach out to Megan from NFPA. I could share her email.
That would be great.
So let me find it here because she helped out someone who had also submitted and their file was corrupted. Something had happened with the action plan where um they just couldn't pick the old one kept showing up instead of the new one that they kept uploading.
Okay.
So let me find her. And NFPA has a team of 3 right now for Firewise, so I hope they can get back to you soon since they
Okay.
have access to the portal, and unfortunately, like I don't, and nor does Richard. So yeah, and you
Would
can,
it benefit him to send an email to someone and
yes,
ask?
definitely reach
Okay.
out to
To Megan.
Megan and send her an email. You can
Okay.
CC us as well, and let me send one of her team members, Elizabeth Riddell, as well. This is her contact information. So if there are any portal issues, like technical issues where it still says submitted, even though
Okay.
you got a rejection, they would be able to help out to just undo that so you can have access to your application.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have a question too, Jennifer. Actually,
Yeah.
first, I want to say thank you for your help. We were rejected without any reasons and
Oh.
had no idea what was going on and resubmitted, and something was wrong with the portal.
Mhm.
And it just, I mean, it's been, I think we submitted on July 1st initially. Anyway, we've had I have no idea what's going on now. We really wanted to be considered this year,
Mhm.
and worked very hard to get it completed. And it was fascinating to me. The instructions are somewhat confusing in the sense that there's a date on the top, and the first rejection that we got said this is supposed to be for 2026, not for 2025. And we knew that, and that's what we had planned. And I really have no idea what went on, but there seems to be some sort of a gap between what the local folks are doing and what the reviewers are looking at. And my sense was, and I believe somebody told me this, that there were a lot of new reviewers, that they hadn't really been trained. And I am just wondering I mean, I have no idea what's happened to our resubmission, but it took us a long time to be able to get in resubmitted because there was something wrong with the portal. So I'm wondering if a review by somebody, either at the council or somewhere else, will save future submitters from this kind of experience. You were amazingly helpful to finally get it to the point where we could submit it. But for example, we had more than 5 items, and that was, I guess, considered a negative. And to me, that just seems silly, because if you're just starting out, you've got a lot of education, for example, to do the first year. And we said for the second and third year that we would review and update the educational activities that were listed in the first year. Well, that was apparently wrong also, because they don't want us doing that. They want us to list it all again, which means you've got two conflicting issues going on there, because if you're trying to go further and you also want to continue everything you've been doing, you can't do it. So the application itself is somewhat difficult in that regard. So obviously this is not a question, and you're dealing with a national group, so I don't know how you change it, but it makes it difficult for people who are doing it the first time. So a review before it gets submitted, I think, would be very useful to people who are submitting for the first time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, since this portion of the application has been causing some challenges, especially just being, the date completed and the community name, and very specific on the language. And I hear you, it's very confusing. So let me get back with Richard Bates to see if setting up any reviews, or just having an email sent to us and we can review and annotate what we think might be helpful to fix would be helpful. I gotta see what his time as well, but thank you for the feedback. We'll consider it. I see a question that Domace Carmel has invited DEM to send a representative to our Fire Safe Community Forum on the 29th, but they have not responded. There's no direct contact. Yes, I think if you could send me an email after the session, I can put you in contact with who presented for us at the Monterey Bay Firewise Forum. And again, I think they're a small team of 3 or so it depends on their availability. But I could definitely start that initial email and follow up on, because that's coming around to the ends of this month, so I hope we can find someone to attend. For law enforcement, it would be the local sheriff, or I believe CHP as well, does a lot of the evacuation. I don't have a specific contact for law enforcement, but any local, so I don't think county. So if you're in the city of Monterey, then any police department there, since they're the ones doing the flow of traffic and etc. Right, yeah. Those are all the questions I see in the chat. I don't see anyone with their hand up either. So is anyone up for renewal this year? I think there were some who have completed the process.
We're up for renewal again.
Again,
We did it once last year.
did you have to use the new template or is that for this year?
I think it's for this year.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the renewal process was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be last year. I thought we were going to have to redo all the things. And Karen, if it helps you, we had when we submitted our initial application, it was written by someone in the fire department. They helped us immensely and it was rejected. So
Oh,
you are not
yeah.
doing anything wrong. It's really interpretation, I think. And maybe if NFPA could have some consistency in what they're looking for with their people, maybe that's it. Maybe everyone's looking at it from a different viewpoint. I don't know. But we eventually got approved and, it does happen. But don't be disheartened. It'll happen. But it is frustrating. Agreed.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was 3 times for us. We were denied 3 times.
I always think things are my fault, so
Oh, yeah,
appreciate it.
no.
No,
No, no. That's
that's
why
not
I
the
wanted to
case.
chime in because no, it's not your fault. I understand that line of thinking as well. So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And I see Dalmasa Carmel is preparing for renewal in November and Forest Grove. So of those people, would doing an online or a in-person workshop where you can kind of prepare up to the point of submission be helpful? I'm seeing after the third renewal, do we need to submit a completely new application? That's a good question. I think so. Let's say your action plan was from 2024, no, 20 from 2023 to 2025. Then you would have to do a new action plan when you're submitting for renewal. That's when that would kind of trigger that new renewal and use of this new action plan template. And I believe if you're looking to expand or like largely expand your community and those bounds, then that again triggers a new action plan and a new risk assessment as well. So that's why we kind of say at the beginning to think larger when you're doing these groups, so then you don't have to do another risk assessment or another action plan each time you're looking to incorporate more either neighborhoods or new parcels of land into your application. So back to my first question, I got kind of distracted, but it was a good question on renewals. So would doing an in-person, like bring your laptop and kind of like a co-working space for renewals be helpful sometime in like late October, or would closer to that deadline of the 21st be helpful? I'm not sure where folks are at with the renewal. I know right now, theoretically, you should be kind of adding up and tallying fuels reduction, number of events, and number of volunteers, things like that. Awesome. Yeah, I was thinking of November, but after yesterday in the regional Firewise coordinator call, it seemed like closer to the deadline might be a bigger push and might be more stressful, especially because it's the 21st and then Thanksgiving. So a lot of people are leaving for the holidays and don't want their Firewise renewal on their mind. So awesome. October sounds good. And yeah, in-person workshop. So yeah, I'll see where in the county are available like community rooms. Yeah, November would be too late. I agree now, thinking back to it. Where in the county would be best to host this? But we'll still keep the date of October 8th, and we'll do a portal walkthrough. What material do you need for renewals, things like that. And then like 2 weeks later, having an in-person like co-working space for renewals. So if there are no more questions, then we can end kind of early today, and I'll have the recording uploaded to our YouTube channel and have the slides available, and I'll link it in the bio as well, so everything is just on that YouTube page or on that video, so it's all available. And this one, if I find any more 3-year action plans that are local, I will add it to the session, but blacking out the personal information first before doing that. So yeah, thank you all for joining. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I know it's been kind of clearing up now with the weather, so yeah, I'll stop the recording.